Hello and welcome to Redefining the Significance of You Time for You, by you, because of you. My name is Denise Drinkwalter, and I'm an empowerment life coach supporting women around the world to lean into and realize the importance of you. The goal of this channel is to provide you, the viewer, some takeaways that will help you shift, change, reevaluate, and/or become more aware of what is possible. We will have a variety of guests who will be sharing their life experiences that have helped them become the incredible human beings that they are. Every one of us, sometime in our lives, when we have had that free time, that frequently we feel guilty about taking, or embarrassed, or feeling badly about taking time for ourselves, we are here to change that and support you to see what is actually possible for you when you take the time for you, by you, because of you. It is an absolute honor and privilege to introduce to you today our special guest, Dr. Arayeh, who has a PhD in psychology and is a certified joyful living coach in personal healing, relationships, and conscious parenting. She combines science with heart-based tools to empower people to transform anger, depression, and other low vibration habits, living from a place of joy, love, and productivity. Dr. Arayeh has 8 years experience in her profession and has impacted hundreds of clients with her work. She has had a variety of experiences that have helped her carve her path, including family relationships and her own personal aspirations. What a pleasure to have you on our show today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I feel honored and blessed to be here.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you. I would absolutely love to know a little bit, if you can, share your journey. This is the type of thing that people love to hear. How did you get here?
I know that is fantastic, and this story is really spectacular in my case because I was originally born in and raised in Iran, and in Iran you all have to be either a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. So that's why I was conditioned in that, it was like I had to, because I hated the sight of blood, so I became an engineer, and I was actually doing what my family, my culture, the society imposed upon me, just like everyone else, right? So I had to check all these check marks until it was a time that I'm like, it was like a screeching halt. I'm like, I don't want to do this until I die. It's not like I hated it, but I did it only for it was like just for the money, kind of.
Mm.
So I kind of paused and I asked the universe, I'm like, what am I good at? And I really wanted to find my calling. And somehow the universe conspired and showed me that. And I became a life coach. And then I got my PhD in psychology. And then I did my dissertation in mindfulness, which I think is the key to joy, because unfortunately we are run by hundreds of thousands of thoughts every day, and most of them unfortunately are fear-based and negative, and that takes away the joy that we inherently deserve, and it's our birthright, in my opinion. So I am doing what I love. It's my passion, it's my mission, it's my vision to help the world, because that was one of my criteria, to do something that I can meaningfully elevate the world consciousness and bring peace to the world. So I am really integrating my personal life with my mission in the world, which I'm truly, truly blessed. It hasn't been easy, but I cherish every moment of it.
I love what you're saying in terms of you have found that passion. There was a guiding force of some nature. A number of things probably happened as you went through. Was it really, what was the hardest part for you in terms of moving from the expectation and the stuff that you thought was okay, but you knew there was something more? What was the hardest part about making that transition for you into what you're doing now?
I think for me, because personally I'm like a rebel in heart, so it wasn't so hard to make the change. And honestly, people say, oh, your family was, you're lucky because your family agreed and all those things. But I do believe because we have a desire, an inherent desire in us, then the environment again conspires to make it happen. So I think that is truly important. But honestly, I think for the people who are debating about this, because I know a lot of people are debating, I really want them to dig deep and see, like, get to the core of their why. I always say, like, go seven layers deep to your why. Why do you want to do something? And get to the core why. And then see if it's really it's powerful enough for you to make the transition, because it is difficult. Like, we are in a comfort zone. Like, we have a secure job. I was earning a lot of money, so I went not only to zero, but I went negative because I had to invest so much money in my PhD program and tons of other courses that I did.
Yeah.
But again, I think not everything is money and status and, all these check marks that people, not people, but the society and culture have been implanted in our brain. Just getting to the core of us. Who are we? I think that's the most important thing. Who am I? And what am I doing here? And I think it's super important not to lose sight of that, because we all don't know, and it's a difficult a question to answer, but then we kind of ignore it. We sweep it in the under the rug. So we have to continually remind ourselves, who am I? What am I doing? Whatever I'm doing right now, is it helping the world? Is it helping me? Is it helping my family? And then go and really trust and release the fear, because really we have only fear. I don't want to call it faith, because, that might sound a little bit, religious, but that inherent love and peace and serenity and that awareness that is within us. We need to be able to access that. Mm-hmm. And then continually remind ourselves, okay, am I vibrating on fear, or am I vibrating from my true nature, which is all compassion and love and, peace?
It's amazing what we can hold within the deep center of our soul, and we don't ever tap into it, right? So tapping into those pieces, I think what you're talking about is so powerful. And yet the external world, we let it hold us back as people, right?
Yes.
It's so important what you're saying in terms of building yourself first, and the rest will fall into place. You kind of alluded to that, where you become happy, you have that joy, you have that peace, and those around you will emanate and join you in that quest, because you have that, it's that ripple effect, right?
Exactly. And I think it's not easy, because again, scientifically, we are literally kind of programmed until 7 years old. Like, our self-belief, our beliefs about the world, all these are wired in our brain, 95% wired until 7. So we just have to become aware that this is not me who's making these quote unquote choices, because literally we don't have any choices until we stop and say, okay, am I choosing this really, or the society is choosing for me? So it's not an easy job to rewire that programming, because for 7 years all those programs have been implanted in our brain by repetition. Many times over. So right now we have to do the same. We have to keep reminding ourselves, because it's so easy to go back to comfort zone and to go to fear. But continually, I always tell my clients to have at least 3 reminders on your phone, at least, and pause and ask yourself, where am I vibrating? Am I vibrating on fear? Is this really me? And it is very interesting, because I know it sounds kind of dire, but we are literally robots. Again, we don't choose. And we have to become aware of this and literally reprogram. Say, okay, is this me, or is like simple things like everyone should get married, everyone should have children? Who said these things? These are all programs. And people feel lesser than when they're not married, when they don't have children. But there is no race. Like, this is not everyone is here to have children, for example. So it takes a brave heart to be able to pause and question these things.
I love what you're sharing in terms of stopping that and pausing. Is this really what I want? Is this what I want? Or is this something that I'm walking the walk behind the person in front, right? Like, this is what everybody's doing, right? It's like, so perhaps that's a reason for you to actually look and go, is this what I want though? Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So important. Are there any specific questions that you find are great that you mentioned, you put three things on your phone a day or whatever? Is there something that you can give our audience that would be one thing they could do to help them do that pause? Is there a certain question that's a good question to start a process to get you to start thinking differently outside that box?
That's a fabulous question. I have to say that the most important tool for everyone to be able to do any tool is mindfulness meditation. And I love mantra meditation or guided meditation, all these things. But mindfulness meditation is super important because like even 5 minutes, and again in those three reminders, you can do the mindful breathing for 1 minute only, and it's super easy. It's just super easy. You just bring your attention to the sensation of your breathing, either on your chest or under your nose where it tickles your nose. And as soon as you're aware of a thought, you just say, oh, I'm thinking, and you just detach from it and you come back to that sensation. And why is this super important? Because the brain, we're training the brain learns not to hang on to these thoughts. Because science shows we have between 30,000 to 100,000 thoughts. And again, as I said, most of them, like I think 85% are negative, 90% repetitive from the day before. So just pausing and just bringing attention to the sensation of your breathing. You can put your hand here on your chest and just say, oh, the chest is going up and down and up and down. And as soon as you're aware of a thought, you say, you just think it's a cloud, you let it pass, you're the sky. While we're doing this, again, we are training ourselves not to hang on to negativity, because unfortunately, because it's a survival mechanism, we needed it. Our brain is wired to look for threats. So the brain, I read somewhere, 5 times a second or something like that, really a lot of times, is monitoring the surrounding to find threats. So our brain is wired to find negative things. So as soon as you catch yourself feeling down, feeling whatever icky feeling you have, just pause, because every feeling originates in a thought. So a thought leads to a feeling, and a feeling leads to a behavior. So as soon as you feel icky, you can either feel your feelings, which is super important too. Like we shouldn't suppress the feelings. Feel your feelings. For maximum duration is only 90 seconds. Feel it for 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Feel it in your body. Don't think. And then when you feel the feeling, then you're able to think and then find the original thought that actually stemmed this,
Right.
gave rise to this feeling. And then question it. Because I assure you that thought is probably wrong. It's probably false, because we assume the worst case scenarios. Worst case. Right? So for example, I have a beautiful, I took this from Dr. Gabor Mata. I love this practice in my classes. Even if I have like 30 people, when people are frustrated about something and I say, okay, what did you think? Oh, my mother thought this, or my child did this. And I'm like, okay, let's find other stories. And believe you me, 30 students in class, we get 30 different positive assumptions, which our brain never thinks, because our brain is wired to think the worst possible scenarios. So just question that. So that is a great practice. Feel your feelings, then question the thought, and just flip it, as Byron Katie says. Just flip the thought, right?
It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing how powerful we are, and yet we don't utilize it. So the strategy you just shared there, if the audience is with us on this, you have the power to change your brain, rewire your brain. That's incredible. I love this. And so easily done. Get into the mindfulness. This is amazing. Yeah. Is there a magic formula to live with joy, peace, and abundance? Do you know?
There is. Yes, there is a magic formula, but there is no magic potion. So there is no switch to say, oh, I learned this, oh, I read this book, or I went to that event, and everything is good. But the problem is that we get frustrated When I say, oh, I read so many books and I paid so much for therapy, or I did this and I did that, why is it not happening? The magic formula is that to understand, we, as you said, you picked the word rewire. We are rewiring the brain, and it takes time. That's the magic formula, to just pause on a moment to moment basis. And then we start only with 3 reminders, but we teach the brain to do this perpetually, like perpetually throughout the day. Become aware. How am I feeling? Am I feeling not 10 for joy? Like from 0 to 10, rate yourself where you are. If you're not feeling 10 out of 10, you're losing. That's my policy of life. If in this moment I'm not in joy, I'm losing. And again, it's super important. I can be sad and I can still have joy. So this is not about suppressing feeling at all. Okay? Because pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional.
Love that.
Suffering comes from the brain, but the feeling is in our body.
Beautiful.
And it's super difficult to feel the feeling. We have to retrain ourselves to feel, because when we were children, when we were crying, even when we were happy and screaming, we were shut down somehow by some sort of punishment and reward. That's how our brain learned to suppress our feelings. Now we have to relearn feel our feelings. Okay, so the magic formula is to perpetually ask ourselves, what am I doing? How am I feeling? Am I living the joy that I deserve? It's our birthright to feel joy. Believe it or not, we came here to have joy, not suffer. So if you're not at a level of 10, then you feel your feelings. Then you ask you go to the thought and you flip the thought. And then this way you're rewiring your brain. I usually say, if you do this 3 times a day for 30 days, there's a great chance that you're on the right track. But don't give up. In the middle, you will say, oh no, I have to tell you a little story. I love this one. So when I was in this journey 2 years in, a spiritual came to our little city here, and I went on stage and I cried and I cried and I cried and I said, I feel like a hypocrite. I'm teaching parents not to yell at their children, and I yell myself. And you know what he told me? He said, you're like a 2-year-old who wants to be the president. And that did it for me. That did it, because I'm like, every time I yell, because when we get triggered, Buddhists call this the second arrow. The second arrow is like, I get mad, why I'm getting mad. I get depressed, why I'm getting depressed. I guess so that's a second arrow, and that we can stop that.
Right.
We can say, you know what? Let me feel my feelings. Let me question the thoughts.
Very, very powerful. I love how you show us ways that we can actually start to implement this. I'm all about action taking. It's all about philosophy is great, but what do I need to do? And you shared some powerful tools that we can use from our conversation. In order for people to access and find out and talk to you further, they would find you in the following ways. I want to make sure that this goes out properly. I'm going to spell it. Okay. So we would look for you at www.drarayeh.com and Dr. Arayeh on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yes. And going back to the magic formula, I have a 5-step system, which I integrate mindfulness, feeling your feelings, a little bit of therapy, why I'm getting upset and all those things, and then setting boundaries in a 5-step system. And we actually mentioned the acronym PAUSE. The acronym is PAUSE, and I teach that in my classes. And I'm about to publish a book that is called The Art of Living in Joy, that is based on this 5 system. Is 5-step to transform life challenges into joy and harmony. So that will come out very soon. As soon as I'm kind of become an activist to bring women's voice to the world in Iran. So as soon as that's done, I'll publish it. So
beautiful
for that too. Yeah.
Let me know when that gets published, and we'll share it out too in our social media too, to make sure people know about it for sure. It has been an incredible opportunity to meet you. We had some tech problems, but we created a plan of action. So this will go out into our live stream It has been an honor and a privilege to have you here with us today. I also want to share with the audience that I have a 6-day workshop series that I had started. I started it last night, October 3rd. It's a 6-day series, and we are talking about, Mom, are you in a good relationship with your kids, your spouse, your work, your friends, and most importantly, yourself? We are going to guide you to help you be the best person that you can be. And very similar, let's live with joy every single day, because we have the power to do that. If that resonates with you, definitely reach out. We'll put the information in the show notes underneath. We will put Dr. Arayeh's information there as well, so you can reach out and connect with her. Wishing you all the best in the advocacy work you are doing. That is so important right now. It is just unbelievable, the response that's happening, and it needs to be bigger and go much wider. So thank you for doing that, and all the best to you. It's been a privilege to have you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you.